This week is the anniversary of the Supreme Court's 1965 decision, Griswold v. Connecticut. Griswold v. Connecticut matters to you because it is the reason birth control is legal in America. Griswold was Estelle Griswold, at the time executive director of Planned Parenthood in Connecticut. She was arrested in Connecticut for helping married people plan their parenthood, for helping married people get access to contraceptives. That was illegal in Connecticut at the time because, you know, every sperm is sacred or whatever. Estelle Griswold is arrested for the grave crime of aiding and abetting contraception. The case ultimately makes its way to the Supreme Court of the United States, and in a 7-2 decision on June 7th, 1965, the court rules that despite the fact that some people really, really hate birth control, you cannot make laws preventing people from using it. We all have a right to decide that for ourselves. When and where and how and whether you want to have a kid, that is your decision. The Constitution protects your privacy in that way. That's Griswold v. Connecticut. Every sperm is sacred. That's Monty Python. But birth control is legal. That's Griswold v. Connecticut, which is a good reminder, actually, that before Griswold v. Connecticut, we didn't have that right, and states made the pill illegal. This year, the Beltway media is just starting to realize, I think, that we are in the middle of the biggest rollback of abortion rights since Roe versus Wade, since abortion was made legal in 1973. But just as everybody is finally waking up to that reality in this year's politics, here's another one for you. The anti-abortion movement at this point is so radical and I think so emboldened about their progress recently that they are not stopping at trying to overturn Roe versus Wade. They're going for Griswold, too. They are not just trying to roll back abortion rights. They are trying to ban birth control as well. The American Life League's annual Protest the Pill event was held this past weekend, in Texas. Their message? The pill kills. Using birth control makes you a murderer. The pill kills folks do seem like a sort of fringy group, at least maybe on the extreme edge of things, but their politics on birth control, I don't know, does it still count as fringe if it's being proposed by Republican lawmakers in 8 states? Alabama State House tomorrow could give final approval to a bill that would change the definition of person in Alabama to mean, quote, all humans from the moment of fertilization and implantation into the womb. The bill would ban abortion outright, sure, but because of the way it's written, because of the whole fertilization and implantation language, because of the way birth control works, with this bill, Alabama might just be poised to ban the most popular forms of birth control as well. The word person is used literally thousands of times in Alabama state law. So if this thing passes, then congratulations. Not only is the pill probably illegal in Alabama, and not only is abortion illegal in Alabama, but you can now claim your fetus as a dependent on your state taxes in Alabama. Frankly, 5 minutes after sex, you could ride in the carpool lane alone. The same kind of legislation also made its way through at least one chamber of the legislature in Montana, in North Dakota, in Oklahoma, and Virginia this year. Legislation like this was introduced in Iowa, in Georgia, and in Texas, all by Republicans. In Mississippi, a ballot initiative that would say a person in Mississippi begins at the moment of fertilization, that's scheduled to be on the November ballot. It is tied up in court right now thanks to a lawsuit being fought by Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, and the Center for Reproductive Rights. This personhood ballot initiative was essentially piloted by the fringe anti-abortion, anti-contraception movement, actually in Colorado. Colorado voters, though, were so turned off by the idea that even though it got on the ballot twice, the ballot measure lost by a 3-to-1 margin. It lost by a 3-to-1 margin twice, once when it was on the ballot in 2008 and again when it was on the ballot in 2010. But the folks behind these initiatives are not discouraged by those kinds of losses. The key group behind the failed Colorado effort is working to get similar initiatives on the ballot in every state in the country. Ballot initiatives that will be called personhood amendments. They are presented as anti-abortion measures, which they are, but they do also have the effect of banning the pill. In Mississippi, where the personhood / no more birth control ballot initiative is in court, where it might not make it onto the ballot because of that lawsuit, the supporters of that ballot initiative are going on a PR offensive. It is a statewide tour of Mississippi to build public support for their cause, for keeping the No More Birth Control initiative on the ballot. And I want you to see this. If I just say this, you will think I am making it up. So I want you to see what this is and that it is real. This is what the PR tour in Mississippi for that ballot initiative looks like. Look, it is called the Conceived in Rape Tour. That's the campaign for the ballot initiative, not against it. That's what the anti-abortion people are publicly saying they are for. They are for forcing women who are victims of rape to bear the child of the rapist. And they're making a statewide tour out of it, traveling the state, telling the good news about forcing rape victims to bear the rapist's child. This is how Personhood USA is trying to convince Mississippi that they really need to get this personhood / no more birth control / force rape victims to bear the rapist child initiative on the Mississippi ballot, and then Mississippi needs to vote for it. Anti-abortion politics have gotten so radical that this is where they are at. The policy positions are force rape victims to bear their rapist children and ban birth control. Happy birthday, Griswold. Joining us now is Terry O'Neill, president of the National Organization for Women. Terry O'Neill, thanks very much for being here. It's nice to see you again.
It's great to see you again, Rachel.
So the law under which Estelle Griswold was arrested, that law in Connecticut was passed in the 1870s, I think. That state's no birth control law at the time. Is that where we're headed? We're back to 19th century birth control laws?
You know, if these radical right-wing elected officials have their way, yes, that is exactly where we'll be going. It's really not so much about abortion. It's certainly not about abortion anymore. But, you know, a lot of people in the pro-choice movement have been saying for a long time, it's not just about abortion, it's about birth control, and it's really about women's ability to access the entire range of reproductive health services. And you know, what's going on in the states now with trying to stop birth control is, I think, part of the overall war against women that is absolutely raging in this country. The part of the war against women is going on in the budget. It's really economic. But the part that we're looking at right now is really ideologically grounded, and the ideology is that women need to be subordinated to the dominance of the men in their families. The primary way that you can achieve that goal is to make sure that women don't have control over the timing and spacing of their pregnancies.
How do you think the policy arm of the anti-abortion movement got here? How did we get to a point where 8 states are proposing legislation that really could ban birth control? Is the anti-abortion movement influencing the surge of new restrictions in the states? Is this being driven by party politics? Where is this coming from?
Well, you know, I think right now, definitely the anti-abortion movement is driving this because it's really an anti-reproductive health care and anti-reproductive rights movement. I think it's very unfortunate that the federal government just last year passed a sweeping health care reform law that includes restrictions on abortions. I think that was not helpful. I think that has helped to embolden more extreme anti-reproductive rights forces to push even further. I think, in addition, that the sweep of the 2010 elections that brought Tea Party members into the United States Congress, that brought this sort of wash of red over some key battleground states for 2012. I mean, that is heavily influencing this. There are a number of states that are bringing hot-button social issues to the 2012 election, either through ballot initiatives like in Mississippi or in other ways, specifically for the 2012 elections. And so that's part of what's going on.
Trying to turn out conservative voters for that presidential election year. You know, when you look at policy matters where there's very lopsided public opinion, that is a big political opportunity for people who are taking the popular side of the issues. Contraceptives are very popular in this country. Something like 90% of sexually active women who could get pregnant but don't want to use contraception. But by taking up these personhood bills, these amendments that really could both ban abortion and ban birth control, isn't that a huge political opportunity for the Democratic Party? Is anybody sort of taking the other side of this very, very lopsided bet?
Yeah, we definitely have champions in Congress that are very much for us. Of course, this is not at the national level right now. I think that what we really need among our friends in elected positions, both at the state level and at the federal level, is to come out swinging. I think that this attack on birth control actually is an overreach, very much like the way the attacks on Medicare over on the budget side have been an overreach, and we've seen the results of that. Look, in many ways, the longer I stay in Washington, the more I think that this town is a citadel, with very, very high walls. And outside the walls of this citadel, people believe in birth control. It's not so much a preference for voters, it's a value for voters. And I think that that the right wing has not understood that, and I think it does give us an opportunity to come back and really win this fight.
Terry O'Neill, president of the National Organization for Women, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel.
More ahead, including really unexpected news out of New Jersey. Its connection to the state dinner for the German chancellor last night. Strange stuff. Also, tonight's best new thing in the world coming up. But first, one more thing about the party like it's 1879 folks, these protest the pill people. The Pill Kills protest this year, as I mentioned, took place this past weekend near Planned Parenthood in Dallas. Because those folks in Dallas are not dummies. When they found out that the banned birth control people were coming, Planned Parenthood of North Texas, in advance of the protest, asked their own supporters to pledge a donation to Planned Parenthood for every banned birth control protester who showed up. Planned Parenthood of North Texas tells us in the end, 115 banned birth control protesters showed up, and that helped Planned Parenthood bring in more than $7,000 in donations. They say all of that, they will use all of that money to buy packets of birth control pills for North Texas patients who could not otherwise afford them. Which somewhere in America, someone thinks is terrible news.
If a sperm is great.